Welcome to House Talk on KAFM 88.1 Community Affairs. It's a monthly program that features local experts to discuss real estate topics of interest to home buyers and sellers in Mesa County. We're your hosts. I'm Kate Porras. I'm a realtor at RE/MAX 4000.
And I'm Janice Burtis. I'm also a realtor at RE/MAX 4000. Hey, Kate, want to hear some great statistics?
It was an interesting year last year.
Boy, howdy. We ended up, when you look at the stats for December, we had 261 active listings. But get this, sold listings were 325 and under contract were 381. So
that's just for December.
Just for December. That's 3 times the number of under contract and sold to the number of active listings. We have nothing on the market. We usually run, 1,500 listings, something like that.
And you're seeing it in a number of ways. We're looking at the number of showings per week that we do in our office, and they were down. Everybody says this is because of the holidays. I just think it's because there are fewer homes to actually show people right now.
And we have a lot of buyers.
We do. I was out yesterday, and it was a little bit frustrating. They're like, is this all you have to show us right now? And the answer is yes, unless you can make adjustments in how much you can afford or things like that. It is a little bit of a challenge for buyers out there right now.
But one good thing, interest rates are, if you're doing owner-occupied, your interest rates are under 3%. And if you're an investor, your interest rates are about 3.25%.
Yeah, so still historically low. And the experts, from what I'm hearing, are predicting that they'll stay low, at least through this year, if not through the following year as well.
So what I've been told, and I actually listened to the Brian Buffini podcast.
Absolutely, me too.
So when you listen to what they're saying, they said buy as much real estate as you can in the next 3 years.
Good time for that.
It's
just got to find it. That's the hard part.
That's true. You're listening to House Talk on KAFM 88.1. And with us today is Merle Sarah with 5M Construction. And we're going to talk a little bit about New Year restorations, things you might need to do to your home in the new year.
Yeah, it's our take on New Year's resolutions. How about New Year's restorations?
Welcome,
or maybe
Merle.
resolve to get your home fixed up.
Fixed up a little bit.
Problem with that kind of thing this time of year is this is when you see it, but a lot of times the weather's so bad you can't get out and fix it.
Can't fix it.
So
that's a good point.
We've hit a nice little spot right now, though, because it's pretty nice out considering, usually we get that 2 weeks where it's nasty here. It's like the high's 10. Well, we haven't had that. It doesn't look like we're going to have it either. So
knock on wood, yes.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I think I know about paint, you can't paint if it's under a certain temperature. Merle, what's that temperature?
40.
Now, is that just for you, or is that in general?
70. Now, recommended if you're outside, you need to catch that window in the afternoon. 40 is really about what it is, because it'll just freeze and fall off.
Now I don't
just come off in a big sheet.
I don't feel bad because we just had a shed installed in our backyard, and it's not painted yet, and we have been putting it off. But really, I guess I should be waiting.
That's what you can say now. We were just waiting for the proper temperature. Rather than
I like it.
It's either too hot or too cold.
Not motivated to do it. So,
Merle, what are some of the ways?
Is something is a seasonal thing.
Yeah. So, what are some of the other ways, Merle, that we can make our home safer this year?
They're safer where it won't, burn down around your ears, and then they're safer people breaking in. 2 different types. You need to look up and you need to look down in your house. Everybody just kind of looks at the walls. You have to remember smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and those are code governed now, where all your smoke detectors have to be hooked together if you're putting new ones in. Used to be you just put them wherever you wanted to, but now they all have to be hooked together. So if one goes off in one part of the house, they all go off. A great idea.
Especially in the middle of the night.
Right.
That seems to be when fires happen for some reason. I don't understand.
That's true.
That seems to be when they mostly happen. You need to check in your crawl space once in a while if you have a crawl space, because one of the things that'll make you safer and healthier is, we've talked about mold in the winter, because you're running things and you've got the windows closed and there's more moisture in the house sometimes. Got to check those once in a while. You've got to open vents in the spring when you can open them. If you have them in your foundation, you need to open them. You need to close them in the winter. So you have to make sure that there's nothing running down there, like silcox freezing and stuff, a little water break, and then you have a mess.
I wonder how many listeners have actually been in their crawl space in the last
5
year,
years.
5 years, 10 years.
And you have to go down there. I mean, you were talking about things I see.
Yep.
Crawl space work, attic work, from people not keeping their vents open and filling them in, and then you get ice dams and your eaves, your gutters break, and then the water comes back up into your eaves and it leaks down in your house, and you get a mess. That
Merle, you mentioned window seals and things. Talk a little bit, please, about windows and when do they really need to be replaced?
windows have a shelf life, especially here because the sun in the summer is so daunting. Generally, windows lose their seal. That's the argon gas in between that keeps everything, keeps the weather outside like it's supposed to be, keeps it nice inside, keeps the UV rays outside. 7-8 years, especially with the vinyls, because the vinyls start degrading the outside, the actual frame instead of the glass. And then when it starts degrading, because it just gets so stinking hot here, that's a good time to start looking at them. I mean, you'll see them if they start fogging up a little bit, then that's a sure sign. You can either get the glass replaced, or it's probably, if it's doing that, if it's a vinyl window, it's probably just better to take it out and put a new one in, because the whole thing is going to go sooner than later. Windows or something that a lot of times you can lose so much heat outside because the window isn't sealed right or installed right or they didn't insulate it around right, that it's a sneaky cost that you don't think about.
Do blinds help with insulation on the inside of the house to keep the heat in and the cold out, or vice versa?
Down at night, up during the day. So
Let that sunshine in?
Yep, that's solar heat. That's the best way. And people don't think about it, but that's what soffits are designed for. In the summer, the sun's higher, keeps the sun out of the windows. Sun comes lower in the winter, comes under that, comes in the windows.
What are some other things that people can do to reduce costs on their home?
Like I said, look down. Look around, make sure your gutters have downspouts to get the water away from your foundation. My internship building was in Montrose, where everything wants to sink. Here, everything wants to raise. And so if you get water on your foundation here, your house is going to raise up and it's going to mess everything up. So you have to get the water away from your foundation. It's just a simple thing. 3 feet downspouts. Get the water out of there.
3 feet away from your
3 feet
foundation?
At least, if you can. If you have a space where you can go farther, great. The other thing is, we talked about it a little bit, make sure your gutters work, okay? Make sure that the water doesn't go down behind the gutter, down the fascia, because then that'll all rot, and then your gutters will fall off, and it's worthless that way.
What about cleaning your gutters? Do we see issues with that around here much?
Depends what part of town you're in. The older parts with all the trees, yes, a lot. The new parts out, like on the Redlands, South Camp, there aren't that many trees, so you don't have to worry about it as much. But you do have to keep them clean. There are different ways now. They have the sponges that sit down inside, so the leaves don't go in there. The water goes in, but the trash doesn't go in, and then you have the screens that go over the top. There's lots of different ways. If you have the cash flow, go ahead and do that. That's a great idea.
You're listening to KAFM 88.1. With us today in the studio is Merle Sarah with 5M Construction.
A lot of people are having to work from home nowadays, school at home nowadays. Are you seeing any trends in people modifying their houses to facilitate those types of needs?
I think what I've seen is a lot of people thinking about what they should have done. Now, though, a lot of them, they don't want to do it right now because I'm working. But when this thing turns around, which it will, I want to make these adjustments because I can't do it now because I don't need all the noise in there and I don't have the time to do it. But I want to take this wall. I want to make more of a workable area over here. I want to have a computer station over here. Right now, everybody's working, so they can't do it. But I've had a lot of people call wanting to know how much it would be to move some stuff around. And if you have a house with trusses that aren't reliant on a 3-point truss, has to have a wall in the middle somewhere, your house is basically a big Tinker Toy set that you can move walls wherever you want. It's not that hard to do. So,
but again, that depends on how your trusses are set up.
How your trusses are set. Yeah, you need to understand that some walls have to be there.
So your house doesn't fall down.
Just the middle.
Merle, are you seeing a lot of new construction today?
Oh, it's crazy. People building things everywhere. Unfortunately, combination of what you were speaking about earlier with the interest rates being so low and the need being so high is the materials have gone through the roof. It's unbelievable how they
Tell us a little bit about lumber costs, Merle.
I don't want to because it gives me a headache. I got a headache today just thinking about a 2x4. An 8-foot 2x4 costs $6.
What did it used to cost before our pandemic?
$2.25.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
That's a big increase.
OSB.
And you have to
sheet of
figure out
OSB.
how that works in, throughout the whole process of the home.
And people are saying, the interest rate, I'm going to make it up with my interest rate being so low. I'm just going to make that cost up. OSB is the one that's really been tremendously out of sight because most of it comes from Canada. They were shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And the demand is so high, it's gone from $11 a sheet to $28 a sheet.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So think about that.
And you're going to see that reflected in the prices of homes.
Yeah.
It's not just the demand, especially in that new construction, because there is a lot of demand for new construction, but the costs are going up too.
It's funny because it used to be that your time was more important, was the material was more expensive than the time than it used to be. And my brother used to fight cats and dogs about what was more important, time or labor. And for the longest time here lately, it's been time. But now it's almost back to the old days where I need to get 3 pieces out of that one sheet. I can't just cut it in half.
There is no waste.
So you better make sure you have a really good plan before you start doing any of the work on your home.
Correct.
So, Merle, if people would like to get a hold of you to ask you some additional questions, could you give our listening audience some contact information?
5M Construction. Phone number is 970-208-2754. The email is 5M, the number 5M, CONST, like construction, .llc@gmail.com.
A lot of good things to think about as you have your New Year's renovations or resolutions or however you want to tackle that.
Look up and look down. Because your swamp cooler is usually up. That's usually a source of trouble. Eaves, gutters, then look down. Vents. Check the side. If you have a chance, and most people don't think about their sidewalks and their driveways, if there's a crack this time of year, water gets in there, going to freeze, going to break. So,
Merle, thank you so much for joining us today. Great information. And this segment airs on the second Wednesday of each month. You can also listen to podcasts on demand at kafmradio.org. And make sure to join us next month for another edition of House Talk. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. You can find me at kateporras.com.
And I'm Janice Burtis, and you can find me at janicebirtis.com. Have a great day.